to talk about...
First of all, quarter century.
Quarter century.
This is our 25th episode.
Oh,
I know that probably doesn't make any sense to what I just said, but we're warming up for our 25th episode.
So 25th, that's important because 25 is kind of a nice number, round number, but 26 actually is a half a year. And so next week, it's going to be our 26th, which is, we've been doing this for half of a year. And that, compared to other podcasts, years and years and years, not a big deal. But listen, it's something for us. So this is 25, and next week will be half a year.
That's right.
So
you know what's funnier than 25? Damon, cue the SpongeBob reference. 26.
24.
Hey, Patrick.
What?
I thought of something funnier than 24.
Let me hear it.
25.
Some SpongeBob humor. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
So you and I had a chance, and we won't talk, this is a tease. Oof. So you and I walked down to 1855 Coffee House. I think it was on Tuesday or Wednesday. And
Wednesday.
Was it? And we just had a great time, not only talking, you and I, and having coffee and seeing Michelle down at 1855 Coffee House. And we saw Scott Johannick too.
Yeah.
But we saw a whole bunch of other people. We saw some of you.
We're going to talk about
and we're going to talk about the different people that we saw. And we'll do that during the fun. Well, we'll probably do that during Mazo Site-wise.
Well, sure will.
Any Mazo sightings that Jonathan or any of us saw. And so we'll talk about that. But we've got to also remind people this week about the fact that our podcast is kind of going in a different direction. And so maybe you want to kind of explain that. I'll help you explain it as we go.
We've decided to divide the voiceover parts, take it out, and we're doing more of our podcast is more of just laid back, us having fun together as a family and just kind of
local stuff.
With
interviews and such.
Just kind of having it that way. We think people like that. And if you're a voiceover person, we still do our numbers. We still do our Todd's Tips. And this week, we're going to have a voiceover-related interview. So those will all be their own videos. They'll all be part of their own playlists, as I've said before. And you can check those out. So I don't know if we're going to do once a month or twice a month. We'll do kind of a spotlight VO voiceover artist interview. But that's kind of what we've decided. So kind of Mazo, small town, local, family, and voiceover, business, stuff like that.
And you can certainly cross over.
Yeah.
I mean, people. There have been people that have liked both.
Yep.
And so you can watch the full podcast. You can go and look at. You're going to upload those also to our YouTube channel. All of those, right? So they can just look at their own playlist. Yeah.
On the original Father Son Voiceover podcast, you'll be able to see all sorts of playlists for those videos, and then you'll see our full episodes on there. And I just wanted to mention too, if you're watching these videos and you like it, please, feel free to hit the thumbs up there. Also, if you're watching and you're not subscribed, we'd appreciate if you would subscribe. If you also have any comments, questions, topics you want us to address, whether it's local or voiceover, that's what the comment section is for. And use it up. We'd like to see what you guys like, maybe what you don't like, stuff like that. So
we're picking up
there's a call to action for you.
Yeah, we're picking up a subscriber per week, basically. So I think now we have 44.
Don't make us
like to get to 50.
Yeah, I talked about it.
I'm talking, about things that I don't know that much about. I just know that you're supposed to subscribe. You're supposed to like.
It helps.
I'm not even sure I know how to do that. I guess on YouTube, but you might know how to do that. So yeah.
That's just implore you to do that. It'd be nice for you to do that for us, and we'd appreciate it.
We've got our nice
Wick Building. Thanks to Tim brought
Wick
them over. The hat he was wearing, I believe, not the same exact, not the one he was actually wearing in the interview, but a hat that's just like it. He brought that over, and we appreciate that.
So he's going to be our local interview.
Yeah, right.
And we're going to have some fun and Mazo Site-wise and Wisconsin Weekly and all that coming up as part of our podcast.
Weekly, yeah. So join us for the 25th episode right after this.
Hey, this is Bill DeWeese, pro voiceover talent and voiceover career coach. And this is the original Father-Son Voiceover Podcast.
That's one of the best investments this podcast has ever made, a clock. Because it keeps some of you guys that just tell
Oh, we could totally get
long stories.
We could totally get him in there. That's pretty perfect. Yeah.
Yep.
This is our 25th podcast, folks.
Yes,
One
25
more,
episodes,
and we
baby.
are a half a year already, half a year in. Mm-hmm. Take that. Hey, quick question for you.
Joe, turn that a little bit more to him.
Am I not on? There's one thing I don't like is not being
That
on
didn't really do
presence. Is that helping
Drew
me?
also stole yours as well.
We're going to get another microphone. I'm going to have to buy it, I guess.
Oh, well, I can buy it too. We're going to put Joe right over here.
Well, are you having problems with his mic?
No, you're good now.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Question I have is we're trying to get to 50 subscribers. I don't know what that means exactly. I mean, I know that's 50 subscribers. I don't know how to do that because I'm not very savvy.
I don't know if this is going to help, but
What?
try to get to 50 subscribers.
Me talking about it?
No,
or
this
recorder?
yeah.
That's coming up later. People are going to want to tune in for that because I purchased this on Wednesday and already know my first song. Got it from Katie Blair Shear down at the second chapter resale.
Yeah, it's not her fault that we're.
I think she's going to like it.
I think it's more so what
Katie's of my generation, and so she's going to like this.
We've also got this. It's another wintry scene. Just like
Bob Ross?
No, almost.
We got that from second chapter resale as well yesterday.
Sure did.
With the frame?
When we
Yep.
Wow.
get to the Mazomanie site-wise section, that's when we're going to bring out our big guns of who we saw and the interactions we
Yeah,
had
what happened
with
this
people.
week.
And it was just on a trip downtown for some coffee at the 1855 coffee house.
I think with the people the heavy hitters that we have here that you guys saw, that might get us over 50 subscribers.
But all they have to do is go like to YouTube, and there's a
The
little
original Father Son Voiceover podcast.
Oh.
YouTube channel.
okay, and then there's a thumbs up means like it.
They like it. Yeah, that means they like it if they put
And
a
there
thumbs
are
up.
people that are doing that all the time, but the subscribers,
You got to stay to the end. If you want to just flip to the end, you can. But at the end, there's a little video of me talking about if you like more videos like
Okay.
this, you can check it out, or
I
you
see.
can subscribe.
Okay.
And there's also a little subscribe button. It's red. It's right in the bottom right corner. If you want to get notifications when stuff drops,
okay, so
then
that's
you can hit the bell notification.
okay, so that's the point. That's the point of subscribing is you get a
Sure is.
But do you have to push the bell notification and subscribe? Like, are they two separate things?
Yes.
Okay,
Subscribe and a bell notification I think it gives you notifications that, hey, this channel just posted something or a video, and you get access to it right away. So
well, I know it's frustrating working with older people, but I think we have a fair amount of people that are, maybe some younger than me and some that are a little bit older that might want that information. Your generation would go, well, of course we know what subscribers means and bell notification. But anyway,
yep.
I was just curious about that.
Yeah, so 25th episode. So what we do is start out with the Wisconsin Heights Weekly. What do we got going on in the two small towns?
Well,
Came prepared this time.
yep. As always.
Well, So one
The
for two.
volleyball team, last time we left off, they were, I think, like 1-4 or something like that.
Don't remember.
2-6 now. So
So they went 1
a
and
little
2
bit
in
of a
their
rough
last.
streak. They lost to New Glarus 3-0 last game they played. And they played this Tuesday at home against Waterloo.
Do you know what the theme is? Is it white out? Is it
I don't know that. That was not
is
in
it
there.
green and gold, green and white? What is it? Nothing. They didn't give you.
It didn't say on there. Also on that Tuesday, which is a segue into the soccer team, which is 1-4 on the year. They lost 3-1 to Richland Center, their last game they played. And they play as well on that Tuesday night at home against Watertown Luther Prep.
Is it
Which
home
then
or
we're
away?
sporting their colors right. Or no, never mind. You were going to say Waterloo. I thought you said, but
Do you know if they're
Watertown
home and
Luther Prep,
away those
sorry.
games?
Hmm?
Like the volleyball, is next Tuesday home?
he
They're
said
both
it's,
home.
it's
Oh yeah,
at
okay.
home.
So
He
both
said
home.
that.
if you're
My bad.
listening.
I wasn't paying attention, I
Yeah.
guess.
And
Okay.
as this drops, that's tonight.
Yeah.
because we dropped this
Yep.
on Tuesday, so it's tonight.
Yep. So you'll have so many options to either go to the soccer game or go to the volleyball game.
Yep.
So 2 options.
Yep. And then the football team lost this past Thursday
Another loss?
to DeSoto. And they play this coming Saturday, the 24th, at North Crawford.
DeSoto, we heard, is gone to the state tournament in state playoffs. State playoffs more than any other team in the state.
In real football with
In
11.
real football, 11, and they just switched over to 8-man.
Tough.
So they're probably a machine.
powerhouse.
Yeah.
But
So
they
we
can't
got-
go to the playoffs then.
I don't know.
It'll be their first. They won't be able to be in the playoffs because they've got to be bigger than. Well, that's not possible,
Not
I guess.
necessarily.
Okay.
It depends on their student population.
True.
But
True is true.
But they have played 11-man, which I think gives you an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, this is why you really came for this segment, is there's early release for the schools the 21st, Wednesday.
Didn't we usually have that once a month when we were in high school?
I think so, something like that.
Then they changed it. Now they only get it once in a while. So
So that concludes Wisconsin.
that's
Heights
Wisconsin
Weekly.
Heights Weekly.
I just know this.
Yeah,
We've
what do you
always
know?
been a second half school.
Mm-hmm.
So we're
Second
gonna
half of the
we're gonna-
season,
Yeah,
turn it
we're
around.
always
Turn
gonna
it
turn
around.
We're
around.
building.
Always
And
been
the
a
teams are
second
kind of
half.
young this year, I guess. So get the youth out of there and boom, right on.
We're
to
building
the
for the
winning
future.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we're still in the first half.
Yeah.
So
It's for second half of the first half.
Yep.
I'm not concerned.
No.
Vanguards always fight.
Yep.
They always fight.
Green and white will always fight.
Yep.
Yeah.
Green
Think
and
that's
white.
how- Green and white will always fight.
Green and white will always fight.
Hoorah, rah. Is that all you had?
That's all I had.
That's all you had.
That's all that was
Very,
going on.
very nice short segment.
Let's meander on over to what we've been seeing
Sure.
site-wise.
Site-wise.
You mean slat-wise?
Yeah.
Oh, let me say,
John, we'll start with you, and then Dad, we can talk about our crazy week.
And just so you know, I am very excited about what happened with us. So if you don't have things that are really exciting, or Drew isn't, you're gonna have to amp it up a bit.
Sure.
to
I don't
stay
know.
with
If
us.
I don't. I mean, I heard.
I don't think anybody can top what
Yeah,
we did
it
this
sounds
week.
like you had a good time down there. So I don't know if I can, but
Try.
Give it a shot.
okay. So the Wild West Days wrapped things up on Sunday, and then the people that run it, they were out of the park by about Tuesday.
Okay.
It's kind of amazing how quickly they
cleanup is?
cleaned up, with the Ferris wheel and the rides and all that kind of stuff. And it seems like they do. I think there's a group of people that go down there, probably the people that help the Wild West Day Association or whatever, go down there and clean things up if there's litter and stuff. So that was, by Wednesday there was basically nothing on the ground or anything like that. So we were back. But like I think you've said before, when Wild West Days is done, there's hardly anybody down at the park.
Kind of marks the end of summer.
Yeah, I mean there's a pretty big soccer program. It seems like there's being built in Mazo, with girls and guys soccer going on. But the side of the park where there's baseball and the swimming pool and all that kind of stuff is pretty empty now.
It's a
And
ghost
you
town.
can always just tell that the season is done.
It is
Summer's
a little
done.
bit bittersweet because, like, Mom and I walk 5-6 times a week, and that's part of our trek through the Lions Club Park. And in June, things really start to pick up. At 7 o'clock, the pool's open, and there's kids' voices, and there's people dropping people off, and there's just the splash pad, and then there's baseball games, all sorts of stuff. And then you get to this time of year, and there's sometimes nobody down there.
Yeah. And then there was some concern on basically our part because we, three of us, Drew, Joe, and I, lived together. And Reeve Road, there was a bunch of people coming along and marking stuff on our grass along our property line. And we
It's
just
not
put
technically our grass.
correct. But
You
along
found that out
yeah,
now.
that we mow and all that kind of stuff. And we have a really nice driveway. And I know that they would put, cement back in there, but there was a concern, at least on my part, maybe other people weren't thinking this, but that they were going to be widening the road because it's an old country road and it needs some improvements.
It's a narrow road.
Yeah, it's a narrow road, and there's quite a bit of traffic now with that newer development out there, and then other people living, I guess that would be south of town in the country, and so there's more traffic. But I heard from a reliable source that they're going to be getting rid of those telephone poles along Reeve Road. And that's what all the scuttlebutt is. I believe they're doing something. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but they're going to be burying not the poles, but the cables underneath.
I hope they're not burying the poles.
No, correct. But I don't know how they do what makes up the poles. So it's.
I tell you what, you know who would know, or at least should know all about it. John Donald. Saw him out there talking with the lady that works for the USIC or whatever it is. And I left to go someplace. They were talking. And I came back and they were talking. It was probably a 40-plus minute conversation. And I started to wonder to myself, what kind of information does she have that John's trying to get at? Because that's a long conversation.
And we really enjoyed John Donald because he owns basically a double lot right behind us. And
he doesn't basically own it; he owns it.
He owns part of the old.
No, I mean, but I don't know for
the
sure
two lots.
the two lots how that all gets
divvied up.
But he is like really good about letting us use that because we have a smaller lot, obviously, and then his is wide open. That second lot that I believe he owns, and well, I know he owns it, but however that gets distributed. And he mows it because we sometimes have friends over to do stuff on that. And he asks about us coming over and using it, like he wants us to be over there. So this isn't any sort of reflection on, this is more so that what he saw, and he probably could give us more information if we were to talk with him. But we really like John Donald. So
we do.
He's a good neighbor.
Yep, he is.
And he always when he drives by, he always gives us a
nice wave.
It's almost like it's like a so-so thing, but he's not doing so-so. It's great. It's just
it's not.
It's always that.
And we gave him some produce from the garden that Joe put.
Secret garden.
Yep.
So he's a nice neighbor, but we're maybe even better because
we're evening
that's
it
what
out.
we're saying.
Well, I
We
don't know
gave
about
him some
that.
produce.
I don't know about that, but we are
back to us.
giving him.
I agree with that.
And then this came in today as I was driving around. But so
Breaking news.
this is also tied into the park. They had an issue around specifically that small baseball field that is on the far western side of the park. Because there's two of them, the Little League fields. There's two of them. And one's on the southeast corner of the park, and then
Wow, John's
Anyway,
really did some.
John's never been good with directions, but look at him fire those out. Nice.
Are they right? Who knows?
yeah. But anyway, so there was those trees that were around it.
Yes.
And they had ash borer
Ah,
issues.
Emerald
that's
ash
why.
borer. Yeah.
Yep.
Today, so they were all cut down around that.
Yep.
Today, there was a bobcat with a big stump grinder on the front of it that they were stump grinding the stumps
Nice.
around there.
Nice.
So that'll be all cleaned up, and we'll have those stumps out. I think there's one or two on the right field line, and then I think two or three on the left field line. So
And a couple in the park too, further into the park.
So that's getting down. That's happening right now. This is Saturday,
Wow.
so it'll be a few days after this drops. But that'll be all cleaned up.
Also, before we get into what Dad and I did, Wild West Days, part of the events were canceled last weekend because of the rain. I won't go through all those things. It just was a little bit of a bummer. We had, our fireworks were canceled multiple times for 4th of July because of rain, and then
The people
Wild
that
West Days.
caught the news of Wild West Days late because our podcast dropped after the fact will be happy to know that some of it was canceled, so they didn't miss out on as much as they thought they missed out on.
so
That concludes. I know that it's not
Convenient,
gonna. I've heard a little bits and pieces of the news that you guys are going to talk about with your walk down to get coffee and also stop by Second Chapter. So I can't compete with that. But that's what I've seen this week. This last week it'll be
Good.
around the
Nice.
sidewalks.
We've got 15 minutes. We are going to fill it all.
Let's
up.
do it.
There's no doubt
Let's stop
we're going to fill it
wasting
up.
time.
We're going
Let's
to fill
do
it
it
up
right now.
with pictures and songs
Sonnets
name
and
dropping
tales.
and all sorts of stuff.
Sure.
So you want to tell the story and I'll jump in, or you want me to?
I thought you were going to.
Well,
I'll help you
Wednesday I decided.
Didn't come prepared with his memory.
Me?
Hudson.
He's going to jog my memory.
So Wednesday we decided, I said, Hudson, I'm not that busy this morning. Why don't we walk down to 1855 Coffee House? So we started walking down there, walking down the hill, heading toward the flagpole. And lo and behold, one of the guys that I mentioned last week I want this guy on my podcast, Bernie Harrop, driving his truck down there. Well, I didn't want to bother Bernie because I just let him get back to me if he wants to be on the podcast. And so, but then I saw Teresa Dewar, which is Jameson Dewar's mom, just happened to be riding by the coffee
Riding
house.
her bike with.
Well, she was going to meet Heidi Wolf.
Yes.
And so we're walking down there and just starting to head in and on Hudson Street, we're turning the corner on Broadhead, just by the 1855 Coffee House. And Heidi says, "Hey, I really enjoy your podcast." We don't have any idea who watches and such. So anyway, we struck up a conversation and that was enjoyable. And then I asked Teresa if I wasn't knowing how to get a hold of Jameson. Like I said, I used to watch him work out down at the Mix It Up, but I haven't seen him for a long time. Boom. I gave her my phone number, and he called me that night, and boom, he's going to be coming on.
Yeah,
Firefighter, Mazo guy, Heights guy, very interesting. He works out great. I watch him work out while I'm on it. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, so he's going to be on the podcast coming up in the next couple of weeks. Then we go up the steps, 1855. We see Michelle.
Scott's right outside the door when we're talking.
Scott Johannick is right outside. It's just celeb.
He opened the door for you? Or
No, but he was right there.
Alum.
Yeah, it was podcast alum. It was Mazo celeb alum. We walk up, we get our coffee, we chit chat with Michelle. She's always pleasant. And then we sit down with our coffee, and an older lady came walking in, and I thought I should recognize her. And she walked right up to us and said,
"I really like your podcast.
I really like your podcast." Well, I asked her who she was, and I said, I should have remembered, is Judy Curtis. And we took a picture of her, and here it is here.
She took a picture with me, and here it is. I was telling Dad a little side note of here. Whatever. Okay. Damon will figure it out. But I was telling Dad that I feel kind of funny because I was wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt and a beanie or a stocking cap, if you want to call it that, because it was a little bit chillier here. And I thought it's 60 some degrees and I'm kind of being a wimp here. It's going to be below zero in a couple months. And anyway, just a little caveat there.
We talked with her for a while, and we asked Judy if she would mind taking a picture. And at first she thought we were asking if she'd be on the podcast. And she said, "Oh, no, I don't want to be on the podcast." But we assured her that just her picture would be on the podcast. So we took a picture with her, and then we came down, saw Scott again. Waved goodbye to Michelle, and then started walking home, which is, toward
Past
the south.
Resale.
And we we said, let's stop in and see Katie Blairshire. She was just on the podcast last week. And so we stopped in there and we looked around a little bit, and there were a couple of items that I've always wanted. And so first of all, there was the picture, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a, you want to say it, Dad?
It's a winter scene. There are deer right there, full-grown deer, it looks like. And it kind of goes along with our other picture, our podcast picture. And then I've always wanted a recorder, and I'm on record of knowing a song already.
No pun intended.
Wow.
And I can play other songs too.
Isn't that the same song?
Okay, that's enough.
It's the same song, but it's
a different
version. It's a different rendition, so it is another song. So actually, I know two songs.
It's like Barney when he plays La Cucaracha on the...
Maybe, but the point is I got this down there, at the resale, second chapter resale. We got that. And so that's a place you can go. And we had a good and as we were walking in, Tiffany, who's a friend of Katie, said, "Hey, I watch your podcast," and her 2 children, Noah and Hazel, said that they like it too.
Nice.
And then we walked home and we were on cloud 9. Just cloud 9.
It wasn't just the caffeine.
We're not very good at being celebrities as it is. So we were it was kind of impressive, honestly. We were going down there not thinking that was going to happen, and we saw
celebrities and we were celebrities all in one trip. So, you probably on your scooter, people are starting to get to know you. You should have a little, you should put a little sticker.
A little decal.
Podcast investigative reporter for
Mazomanie.
On the spot, baby.
Yep. What do you think about that?
What do I think about that idea? Or
no, what do you think about that trip?
It was great. I was pleased as punch.
It was an absolute surprise, I think.
It was a surprise. And here's the other thing. So then we mentioned Jerry Springstead. You call her Frau, Jerry Springstead. And I sent her an instant message via Facebook, asked her to be my friend. She got back friend. And right away she said, sure, Jet and I would be flattered to be on.
But what happened? Maybe it's going to be a little while. Right?
Oh yeah, it's going to be a few weeks because she had a bike accident. We'll let her explain what that is.
We don't want to spoil.
She's
too
doing
much.
fine.
Good.
But
It's a motorcycle
she had an accident.
wasn't it?
No, I think it was just a. I don't think she's a biker.
Okay.
That type of biker.
Well, she's
I
a
think
biker, but not a
bicyclist. Anyway, she and Jet or John are going to be on the podcast in the next few weeks. So we got Jameson Dewar. We've got Frau and her husband.
We got Tim Wick coming up.
Tim Wick's
during this
podcast. And then there are other people that I know, other people that are watching are going to talk to them about this podcast, and they're going to say, you've got to be on there. Yeah. I mean, that's going to put you on the map. And so
only the really famous and the who's who are on this podcast.
People are.
We'll take anybody.
We'll take we won't take anybody, but people are interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
Just one other thing is I'm thinking that we need to consider doing. Have you ever seen Tom Selleck? The AAG, the reverse mortgage.
Yep.
Blue Bloods.
I mean, that's not what I've seen him on, but yeah.
But I mean, he's on those commercials where he talks. He's out in the on a path, and he's talking about reverse mortgages and how they're important for older people.
PI.
Yeah, Magnum PI. Anyway, I was thinking that we should consider, since we have such a low budget, low watched, bottom feeder podcast, that we should do reverse marketing. That is, if people will just, like Tim did and like Aaron Handel did, and other people, if they wanted to be, we of course have the right to reject or edit. Yeah. But we could have a reverse not a reverse mortgage, reverse marketing. So in other words, normally you have to pay to get on, but we would in essence do it for free if you wanted to highlight your.
And if you wanted to pay, that'd be fine too.
We would take your money.
It wouldn't cost you anything, and you probably wouldn't get any business off of it.
But you could say you're sponsoring. You could say you're sponsoring on the podcast, and we could say we have sponsors. It's a win-win deal all the way around.
It really is.
And like I said, Dad and I started this podcast. You guys have joined it just so we can get all sorts of shirts, hats, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We don't have lots of clothes and stuff like that.
Like I got this from Tim Wick.
Yeah. Wow.
Nice.
Kind of like a Superman there. Yeah. Reveal.
So anyway, that was to me that was an exciting week, and there's more excitement to come. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And that's all I've got.
Wow.
All right. Cool.
That's all he has.
We can cut it short if we want to. Or he could tease the.
You have 5 minutes.
Are we doing, just tease it a little bit, are we doing a state or are we doing on this date?
Let's try to pretend. You're going to try to pretend like you just haven't been reading every once in a while. You're right next to
He doesn't have his class ring. It's over here.
I just want to make sure that you don't say invalid wife again.
True. I don't have any invalid information this time. No, let's get to it right after this segment. People, I mean, they're gonna have to trudge through that little part to get to the best part of the podcast.
They are, and then we've got Tim Wick coming up next from Wick Buildings.
There you go.
Watch that, because that was an exciting interview.
That was.
And then Drew will be back.
Tim grew up around here.
Yeah.
Played sports with you guys in the backyard growing up, stuff like that. So that'll be some of the amusing stories that we talk about in that. So join us next for Tim Wick's interview. Hey everybody, Hudson here. My dad's there, and Katie's back there. She was just a guest on the original Father-Son Voiceover podcast. We're picking up, let me get my huge head out of the way, another piece for our studio. And you are watching the original Father-Son Voiceover podcast.
Go ahead.
So you're going to ask some questions, start off with, and I've got one that I really want to know, because here we go.
It's not the one that I asked.
Well, we'll find out.
Well, I wanted to ask Tim that even before we got started. That one about the junior high.
Oh yeah,
that's not it.
No. This one's good, I think.
So my father went to Mazo Elementary and then high school.
Mm-hmm.
And then they didn't have a high school out there. It became Wisconsin Heights in 65. So when I went there in 73, I obviously only went through kindergarten to 8th grade at Mazo. Did you go, because the new, not the new building, but the junior high, the middle school, what year did that open? Do you remember? And what grade were you in when you started?
We were the first class.
Really?
6th grade.
I was wondering about that.
Oh, so you were 6th grade. So you were new to that building.
New to the building, and we were the first class to start in the 6th grade and go all the way through.
Okay.
Wow.
So like 1990, fall of 95, I think.
Yeah.
12 years old.
Okay. We were trying to figure that out if you actually went, who was the last class that went to 8th grade?
Right.
You would know them because they were like seniors when you were a freshman, probably. Who would that been? Some of the notables that you remember? Anybody?
Yeah. Luke Shinneman, Jeff Ashelman, Andy Stokes, the older Mickelson boy, Aaron's older brother, Ian, I think.
Okay.
So that football team that won conference, maybe.
Ah, okay.
They would have been the last to be 8th graders at the grade schools, I believe.
Okay. Wow. So we've got Tim Wick here.
We sure do.
Yeah.
What
our friend, our neighbor, and our friend. And
yeah.
John's on the couch because John and Tim went to high school together. You were a senior, right, when John was a freshman?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Isn't that ironic? Your dad was a senior when I was a freshman. Just
Full
all
circle.
these different things.
It's great.
Yeah. Did you guys play sports together?
I don't think you ever came up.
No, I just practiced. The freshmen would practice for a little while because there were marathon practices the first week.
Long.
And so I did that. But
did you guys do two-a-days or just?
No, it felt
just
like we were there for 2 days.
4 hours because I had Coach I my freshman year, and they were long, like till like 9:30.
Yeah,
you'd get home. It's like I've got no time for homework.
Yeah, so we would go like every other week with the girls, right? The girls team would sometimes go early.
No, yeah.
And so sometimes it would be, like you said, 9 o'clock, depending on if it's the fact that we had it later. But yeah, it was usually later. But that's the only time that I practiced with them. And it was like the first week, maybe 2 weeks. Or maybe like after Christmas break, we would come back to get back in shape. So we'd run a lot. But
yeah, it was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. Do you feel like when we were doing that they were handing down the system? Did we work on offenses from varsity down to freshman?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Right?
I just remember running.
Yeah, I remember running a lot. Yeah, running, and then you'd stop, and then you'd kind of be like, and you'd listen for a while, and then go right back to running or that stuff.
Yeah.
I think they tried to do that, but you're right. I don't remember that like in the first couple weeks. We just ran the same offenses and things like that once we got into our smaller groups, if you will. Yeah, but that first week was basically just run and listen.
Did you
stretch a lot of running?
Did you guys have the heavy basketballs?
Yeah.
As a freshman, 135 pounds. That was tough to get up to the hoop and catch.
As a forward, I didn't play with those. I didn't shoot a lot. I don't feel like it. But I remember a couple of guys. I remember like Zach Stotts or somebody, they'd shoot with those and then they'd step like 8 feet behind the arc and it was just easy.
Yeah. Well, it just is like, you got a bunch of freshmen. You're supposed to do it right or else like people would run and it's like three-man weave and you're like.
There was a big ball for rebounding drills. You remember that? It was oversized, so it'd bounce out.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
It was harder to make. Yeah. So I remember chasing those a lot. Dave Olson would shoot that as high as he could, and rebounds would be like
out of bounds.
Way out. Yeah. Lots of chasing. And you'd have to box out for a long time. But
so you played basketball together. I mean, you played in the same program, senior freshman, not on the same team. But then you played football?
I played football. I ran cross country for 2 years.
Okay.
And then went in between my sophomore and junior year, gained some weight and said to Dad, like, it's just not really, I don't look right in a cross country uniform. And he
put some pads on that boy.
Yeah, he gave me a pass. So I played football my junior year. I think they had some injuries in the class ahead of me, and I became a starter, not a very good starter. I was between Adam Brunner and Matt Olson. I was a guard, and Adam Brunner covered a lot for my inabilities because that was my first year of football. I hadn't played organized football in
to play at that level
6 years or something.
Yeah,
but Adam did a lot of hitting. He'd snap the ball, hit my guy, and then go do his assignment because he liked me.
Oh, that's nice to have.
He's passed away, but I'm not sure I ever had a chance to thank him. But he did that a lot, honestly. He would kind of like crack on my guy and go do something else.
He knocked the guy off balance a little bit, huh? Yeah.
And he was pretty strong. He was like 5'10", 240, 250, and just a stronger guy. And he could lay a hit.
Was he fairly tall or was he kind of a stockier guy?
He was probably 5'10".
Okay. Oh, you said 5'10".
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But no, Adam covered for me. Like, that's just the truth of it.
That probably wasn't a big deal to your dad, but I mean, your dad was an accomplished runner.
Yeah.
Your Uncle Johnny was. Jeff was. Yeah. So you come from a long line of runners and track guys.
Yeah.
And you didn't do track. You didn't do baseball, right? Did you do track?
Golf, that's
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Mark Parrish started the program. Yeah. The first year of the golf program was pretty successful. I was a freshman. And they had Shane Bacher, Matt Husted, Dustin Drazen, and there's one other guy, the oldest Hornung, Anthony, and Regina's older brother, maybe Luke Hornung.
I only knew Anthony, or I only knew that was Anthony, so this is news to me that there was an older one. So
yeah, they went to state in the first year of the program.
Wow.
Shane Bacher and Matt Husted were pretty good.
I remember Matt Husted was a good golfer, right?
It was Adam Brunner.
Oh,
he was he was the number 3 golfer. He could hit it a country mile, and then he was fine around the green. He really was. But they went to state their first year, and then I think they did a pretty good job of like getting through regions, going to section. Because it's like track. There's not a lot of playoffs. You just go to a regional tournament, a sectional tournament, and a state tournament. But we missed the sectional tournament my senior year by a stroke in a playoff. That was kind of a bummer.
You had a pretty good team then too, right?
Yeah.
You had
Chad Tice.
Chad Tice was good.
Sean Stussy.
Yeah, you were good.
Yeah. Me and Dustin Drazen, we were the 2 who scored in that tournament. I was the 5th guy. And so you score 4 out of 5.
Okay.
But we had a fine team.
And that was when the conference was a little bit more.
The school was bigger.
When I was a senior, we converted to like whatever the conference was in between. Oh yes, like my junior year and today.
Today, that's right. Okay, there was kind of a.
Because wasn't there a time where we didn't have Lodi and Poinet?
Yes,
just a window in there.
Yes, a short window. Yeah.
We've always. It's funny. I think we're the longest tenured Capital Conference team.
Okay.
Really?
I think so, because I think it goes all the way back to like my dad's days or your days.
We were one of the original. Yeah. Heights was the original part of the original Capital Conference.
Yeah.
And everybody else has come and gone, and we're the only ones that have stayed throughout. Yep.
Just central. We're
stayed the
not
same
quite
size.
enough west
yes.
to get into those conferences, and not big enough to stay with the likes of Verona and Wanakee, who you played, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Golf was one of those
DeForest.
sports that we always talked about. We wished it was during the fall because I would have done golf.
Well, you had a nice home course.
Mm-hmm.
And you always got out of
The
school. I mean,
springs.
Coach
Springs,
I was our teacher for world history and U.S. history, and lunch would come and they're gone. It's like, what? I want to do golf, but it was during baseball season. So, of course, you couldn't, for me at least, couldn't do baseball over golf. So,
Golf has to be the best high school sport. Yeah. Like you said, leave at 1 p.m., go play 9 holes at nice courses, and call it
free.
And call it school for free.
yeah.
There's the kicker.
Call it school. Yeah.
No, golf was a win.
Yeah. Well, you guys were good. So that was, I don't
That's
think our
helpful, too.
team was that good.
Oh,
But-
sure.
But that's
The House on the Rock. So there's 27 holes there, and there's a set of 9 called the North 9, which was designed by Andy North, and that's challenging. So that was kind of fun to bring in other schools because it usually put a good school kind of in check, and it put a fair school at a disadvantage.
Home court or home field course advantage.
Yeah.
Huh?
Now you guys your alternative home field wasn't the Wanakee golf course,
No,
was it?
no.
Now that would be a disadvantage to
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
Yes. No, that brings a whole other level. That's like the difference between street ball and varsity.
That's exactly right. So now we're 10 minutes into our interview with Tim Wick. We haven't
Almost
even really
11.
introduced him,
Yeah.
but so we've talked about high school a little bit. What year did you graduate from high school?
2002.
2002. We were just talking about in our last podcast about Michael Wilkinson and how everything's before Mike and after Mike. You know, it's like, especially for the newer group of people. You
Yeah.
know, the older ones aren't so, older of us aren't so much. But 2000, you know, Y2K, and then Michael at Heights, it's kind of like, when did you graduate? Oh, I graduated a couple years after Mike Wilkinson, that kind of thing. Is that how you think of it or not so much?
If I talk to somebody from outside the community and sports or school comes up for whatever reason, I'll ask, hey, did you know of a basketball player named Mike Wilkinson? Oh, yeah. So he is, right? It's like BCAAD or whatever. It's BM, AM, before Mike, after Mike.
Yeah.
So Tim, like I said, Tim's a neighbor of ours, just a stone's throw away. He works for Wick, as he's got his hat on and his shirt, ready to go back to the field.
Wick Buildings.
Yep, Wick Buildings here in Mazo. I want to talk about that a little bit, what you do, and a little bit of the history. I mean, your grandpa started it, John, and your dad's worked there basically all of his adult life, or most of it.
Yeah.
But just a little background. You're married to Andrea, and name your kids and their ages, please.
Yeah, Ella is 13, Jocelyn is 11, Finley is 9, Elizabeth is going to be 8 in just like 2 weeks, Ben is 4, and Avery is 2 today. This is her
really?
second birthday. Yeah.
Happy birthday shout out to Avery Wick.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
to our babies too.
So let's talk a little bit about Wick for a minute, because this is kind of our local podcast here.
Yeah.
So I don't know how, you probably know plenty of the history of Wick.
Yeah.
It started in your grandpa's garage or basement. Is that true?
Effectively, maybe really probably the dining room table. You know, like I just learned this recently. His first customer was somebody he knew from college, and he lived with them. I don't know. I can't remember where Grandpa lived at the time, but like he lived with the customer while he built the house. So he had an engineering degree. So he'd sell, design, build, certainly in those like really, really early days. But dining room table. Yeah.
Your grandpa's from the Superior, Foxborough area up northwest. And he moved down here to go to the UW engineering.
Yeah. He won like a scholarship to become part of the Navy's education program. I don't know if it's like the program that preceded like ROTC, but maybe something in that vein. Him and 2 other guys won the 3 scholarships out of the Superior area, and him, his cousin were 2 of the 3. and they ended up students at UW.
Well, am I remembering the story right? And you might not remember this, but I thought that your grandmother, Helen, would talk about how that's how the two of them met at the RO. She was, I think, serving there, and he was a member there. I might be mixed up, but that sounds on the UW campus.
Yeah.
Both of them were students there.
Yeah, they met at a student function that was hosted for that group of students. I don't think it was just for everybody. I mean, I'll probably hear from an uncle or my dad who listens to this and get corrected. But so she was hosting, and, he just got to talking to her.
See, my plan is that we're going to throw out so much conjecture and misinformation that people are going to have to listen to this and comment.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for. I've got to get this right. So anyway, that was in the, what was it, in the early 50s probably?
40s.
Oh, late 40s? Okay.
Early 40s.
That they were in college?
Because Jeff was born in 48. I think Grandpa maybe graduated in 46. I think Grandpa started, he was born in 1926, so 18 years later is 44. So he was a student 44 to 48. Okay.
And so then he graduated and they
became a grad student because he has his master's in finance. He has a undergraduate in engineering and a master's in business finance.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
He almost has a PhD.
Wow.
The business really, really took off, and he didn't finish his thesis.
Yeah. And so they moved out here, and Jeff is the oldest in the family. Was he born in Mazo, or in the area, or was?
So they had access to the housing that was up at Badger Munitions.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they lived there when they started having kids. They lived there. I'm not exactly sure the whole time frame. I know that there's a story that he was maybe missed. He wasn't there when Margaret was born, and I think she was their last child at Badger Munitions before they came to Mazo. So I think John too is their Mazo move.
Okay, and of course your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we talked about him starting at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
But what year was Wick Incorporated? Do you know, or around the year?
They started the first project in the late fall of 54, and I don't know if he was incorporated, but 55 is certainly a solid year for the start of Wick Buildings. Before the whole thing became multi-faceted with different veins of business.
And before they built where they are right now, the first building out there, if I remember things right, and again, historians that are older than I am can correct me, I don't think there was anything of note as far as industry in Mazo. There was blacksmithing and there was carpentry and, all these different things, but not a large industrial. I think that was the first building and now there's many, there's quite a few in Mazo. And I think Wick was the first. Would that be true in your mind too?
I think that's true. Mert Walters, who Walter Road is named after, he leased the land to Wick, I think originally. And to the best of my knowledge, Wick was the first into the business park.
Yeah. And then they expanded, and then they built the Roundy's / Kroger? Is it Kroger now?
Yeah.
And then of course they built the other building, the IT building.
Yeah.
They had a building to the north that's been taken down since. And so they've expanded and shrunk a little bit and gone through a lot of housings, ups and downs, and different things like that. That would be an interesting story in and of itself. But I don't know if you guys have any questions. I have a few other Wick building questions, especially as it relates to what you do now. Now, if you have something else you wanted to throw in, go for it. But.
No, that's fine. Right now they built that Holmes plant that is now the Kroger distribution that was built in the late 70s. And then there was a pretty hard economic downturn. They were only there for 3 to 5 years before they sold it.
Yeah. So Wick has been around since, basically right around late 50s, early 60s in Mazo. And your grandpa started it. Your dad's worked there, all of your uncles, aunts, cousins probably. And what year you're a third generation Wick in the Wick building. What year did you start there? Did you do some summer work there sometimes, or internship or anything like that?
Yes, the first time I worked there, I was a freshman in high school, and I did computer-aided drafting details. So I worked for the Wick Buildings engineering group, and they would mark up a detail, and I would go into AutoCAD and like redraw it and how they wanted it. So that I was 14, worked for $6 an hour, and I don't know, at 14, $6 an hour felt pretty cool to have something to do during the summer and put a few dollars in your pocket.
Yeah.
So I worked there. Drafting for a few years. Then when I graduated high school and I was 18, I could work in the plant. So I worked 2 summers in the plant, the Wick Homes plant, building panelized walls and panelized floors. And then I was an intern, like between my junior and senior year of college. Dad had a special project that was computer-aided drafting based. So I did that for him and did a lot of documentation and tried to, maybe proof of concept is the best way to put it, to see if it was going to be a product that would provide a benefit for one of the branches of the organization of the time. And then after a job locally that didn't go so well, I went to the Wick Buildings plant and built trusses in 2010. And then in 2013 went into the office, and I've had a couple of positions there. And right now I do project sales.
How many people do project sales at Wick? Just you and another gentleman?
Just me and one other guy.
Okay.
So we're 2 like company-based salesmen. Otherwise, Wick distributes through independent builders all over the upper Midwest, Minnesota to Kansas and Colorado to Ohio. So, very much a Midwest-based company.
Do you feel, a lot of industries have really, been hit hard by lots of the stuff that's going on worldwide and economic. How's Wick doing? Are they there's for a while there, even like last year, you and I would talk, and you were still very busy.
Yeah.
Are you still busy?
We are busy, but it has shown, I think there are aspects that have shown that it's kind of tempering a little bit. It's an interesting time, though, to make that assessment, because in our experience, customer behavior from like middle July to the Labor Day holiday really slows down. People are taking vacation, spending time with kids before they go back. And, now over the next like 4 to 6 weeks, you have like industry customers, business customers, commercial customers. They're going to start planning their spring work of next year. Farmers are going to start assessing their crop and make decisions on purchasing buildings or not. So it feels a little bit slow, but I think if you talk with anybody who has some tenure in this industry, they'll say pretty seasonal. Now, nobody's got a real crystal ball, right? If we have an economic slowdown, we have an economic slowdown. But things are busy, but we're not at our peak.
When people are like on Oprah, when she used to have a show and she'd have a book or something like that, or on like Joe Rogan, he might hawk something. Just be ready for an upswing, Wick, because of our huge audience. I mean, just be ready. Go back and tell the folks that I was on their podcast, and it's probably going to get busy.
I like that.
Yeah.
I don't have any other questions about the Wick stuff, but you had a question. But do you want to just stop for a minute, take a little break, and then we can come back and talk about that, and then the what would you rather, or what do you want to do?
We sure can. You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
You got plenty of time?
Yep.
All right. We'll be right back.
So you have a question for Tim.
Yeah.
Johnny. And I don't know if you have any questions. And then we were going to play, do you know the game? Would you rather?
Okay.
I'm the only one. I ask that. I've said that every time. I say that to every guest.
Yeah.
Do you know how to play that game? Everybody knows it. I'd never heard about it until I thought I'd come up with something new.
And you're also the only one who butchers the name of the game. Just about every time.
What is it?
You've said a couple times, what would you rather? It's
would you rather?
Would you rather? Yeah.
Would you rather?
You knew exactly what I was thinking.
I did. Yeah.
So go ahead, Johnny.
So we used to play football in the back.
In our backyard.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if we discussed this before, but all the guys we had a pretty sweet area of a group of guys of football. And Dad
in the neighborhood.
Yeah, in the neighborhood. And Dad would be quarterback. And embarrassingly enough, it's not. It took a lot longer than it should have because every game was close.
He was the master of parody.
Yeah, and I just always thought that it was just two great teams going at it. And it sounds like you were smarter, which you probably are just in general, but it sounds like you at an earlier age figured out. So I guess, how old were you when you figured out that Dad was kind of, like sometimes
manipulating the game?
It's like he'd be wide open and he'd miss them just barely. Oh wow, that was just a bad pass. But other times he'd really zing it in there and guys would catch it. And I just thought, oh wow, Dad's just off a little bit there or whatever. But it sounds like you maybe figured it out a little bit sooner, and you still came over from time to time, but maybe just kind of decided,
It lost its luster. Probably.
I don't remember the age, but I do remember the look. I can't tell you the specifics, but I remember making eye contact with Todd and realizing, oh, it's rigged.
It always came down to a Hail Mary at the end, basically. And I'm like, huh.
Becky would yell out, "It's time for supper." And I'd say, "Okay, just one more play." And it was always the winning touchdown that we had to do the Hail Marys.
Do you remember a 4th grade teacher at Mazo Elementary? I think his last name started with an L, Mr.
Lifson?
Mm-hmm. So he would play football with us at the grade school. And he might have tipped me off that adults could manipulate kids because he would play quarterback. And the line of scrimmage did not matter. And I saw him like creeping forward. And I don't mean to incriminate him, right? Like it was whatever.
Sure.
But I remember deciding that I was going to play defensive line because he came forward like 3 yards. And I was like, hold on. That's the line of scrimmage.
It's a flag.
And I got a little like, hey, go out and play defense. And I caught on to his game then. So
you were wary of adults,
yeah, I guess
especially in sports. So you came to our house after that and you said, I'm going to watch this guy because he's going to be manipulating us kids. Yep. Yeah, that was one of my favorite things to do, was to go out and play football. Yeah. So many young, we had the Handles, we had the O'Connells, we had the Shittemans. Did they come down?
Yay-Six,
yeah.
Maybe, Luke and Josh did not come, but maybe every once in a while, maybe Joe would, but that was rare. Karsten Springstead would come down.
Yeah, that's right.
Jake Donald would come down once in a while. Even Miguel Castro and his cousin who lived with him at the time, Josh Parkin.
Yep.
Yeah, we had quite the crew.
There was to be fair, and this isn't to toot my own horn, I was 2 years older than everyone. And if there wasn't a Marshall of parody, there was going to be a problem.
That's kind of true.
Catch Tim.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
there was a big enough gap in the kids' age, that and ability and skill level that you kind of did have to manipulate it. Otherwise, it would have been Todd to Tim, Todd to Tim, Todd to Tim over and over and over again. Yeah.
Well, I asked it because I think we've discussed it maybe before. I can't remember, but I think it took way too long for me to figure that out. And I think I had heard through the grapevine about that look that you had with my dad, and that you figured it out while you were still playing, and I didn't. So I was just curious how long it took.
Another great game, Dad.
Wow.
How does it keep happening?
Yeah. So that was my question.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Did you say you have another question, or
I don't.
Well, I guess I would, and maybe you don't have to answer this if you don't want, but I've told people that I know John Wick.
Oh, yeah.
And that the story is inspired, the movie is inspired off of your grandpa.
Off of his name.
Certainly. Off of his name, yes. And so people don't ever think that John Wick is an actual person. Definitely not the same John Wick in the movies. I've never seen the movies.
Yeah, neither have I.
But I know he's quite the gun-toting, shooting guy, which your grandpa isn't.
Isn't.
At least that we didn't. At least that we know of. Yeah. Anyway.
I mean,
we don't know his
true. We don't
John
know.
Wick.
Yeah. So
what was he doing up there at Badger Ordnance?
I get into those same conversations from time to time, where somebody, I remember being in a parking garage in Seattle, and the guy saw, I maybe had to show my driver's license. He's like, "Oh, Wick, yeah, like John Wick, he's a bad man," and he's talking to me about it. And I said, "Yeah, it's my grandpa," and he laughed. And I was like, "No, seriously, go look it up. The writer Derek Kolstad's my cousin," and he just kind of gives me this like, "Nuh-uh," and I was like, "You can look it up."
Yeah.
So
Yeah. There was a guy on a flight in one of our family trips. He's a professional flyer. He sat down, had everything, he just boom, 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 sat down and watched 2 or 1.5 John Wick movies.
You mean he travels a lot?
He travels a lot. He's a professional traveler.
How many days out of the year did he fly? He told you like 250 or something like that?
Well, yeah, a few years ago. I mean, maybe 10 years ago, he traveled almost every day just on a flight. I think he was kind of a big real estate guy that would go. Anyway, he was watching those, and I was just every once in a while looking over there thinking of your grandpa while the guy, I don't remember what his name,
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, how he's doing all his stuff. And I almost said, I know the guy that's named after, but I thought I'm not going to go into that because how am I going to?
I've stopped doing that because of people, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And they look at you like, yeah, right. And it's like, how would I be able to? I don't
but
know
you
how
can
I'd be able to prove it.
You can prove it more. You got the last name. And
I don't bring it up, but if somebody asks, I'll talk about it because it's pretty deflating when, I've never seen him. It's like, the John Wick movies, kind of.
Yeah.
In name.
Know of them.
But the guy.
I know the guy.
Which is.
Yeah.
I think that Wisconsin Public Radio just did an interview or a piece on.
Yeah, I saw that. I think it was on What's Happening in Mazo. They posted the article or whatever that was associated with maybe the little piece they did on it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
but let's be honest. I mean, like your grandpa just a few years ago, did 2,500 miles on his bike. And he's in his 90s. And so in a sense, he's doing stuff like that for a 90-some-year-old man.
Yeah,
I mean, that's amazing.
I remember my brother and I laughing about this, that I think around 89 or 90, he was still doing this little thing where he would drop his bicycle at one end of the creek, take his kayak to the other end of the creek, get in, kayak down to the Walking Iron Park, grab his bike back to his car, pick up his car. This was a thing as an 89 or 90-year-old. And I just said to my brother, I said, well, at least he's going to go smiling because 90 years old.
Yeah,
and
amazing.
The creek wasn't always nice, trees over it and such. It's not always that safe. It seems pretty benign.
Yeah, yeah.
But there are parts where if you do the wrong thing at 90 years old, you'd be in trouble.
So you're probably thinking about yourself doing it. And then you think, of course I could do that.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, my grandpa's 90.
Yeah, he's got a adventurous spirit.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember hearing when he was, I don't remember how old he was when he quit doing the depot to depot, but he would walk the depot to depot, and it was faster than some of those people were walking.
He's one of the biggest reasons I did not run the depot to depot, because I did not want to be passed by your grandpa walking while I was running. So let's play just for a couple more minutes. Would you rather?
There you go. Got it.
So here's a couple. Tim, you don't have to answer these first. We can all answer them the way we would. Would you rather skydive or bungee jump? Johnny, Hudson, Tim, what do you guys think? Would you rather skydive or bungee jump?
Bungee jump.
Why? I mean, any specific reason?
I think it just feels like one of those things you can do recreationally, where I think the first time you skydive, you're strapped to somebody, you have to go through a class.
Yeah.
It feels like an all-day commitment.
Wow.
Whereas
a lot more than I was thinking.
Well, no, I mean, I would have thought three rungs up the ladder, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
So, for me though, with flying, I like the window seat. Because it feels because it's like this so far down, I can't even really comprehend if something happens, then I'm toast anyway. But for some reason, even the bleachers, it's the reality that the closed-in bleachers in high school was that's not good, or standing at the state capitol up high. And so for me, it would probably be just having somebody along with me that supposedly knows what's going on, because I think you can be strapped onto them for the most part, especially the first time.
Yeah.
And it's so high up that I think it would be a little bit not real to me. But when you see some of those jumpers jump off those big bridges with the bungee jumping, I can see that distance more so than that. So for me, that's a long answer.
And sometimes I agree. And sometimes you'll see the bungee jump guys that are running it, and they're kind of giggling. It's
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Trust you
Who's
to tie
strapping
that
me in?
strap.
Please make sure that
Yeah.
it's good.
I'm exactly like that. It's not real for me. So if I had to choose, I wouldn't choose either one.
No.
But if I had to, I would choose I would choose, as strange as it seems, I'd choose to jump out of an airplane. I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Maybe.
As
What
long
about
as
you?
there's multiple people, because like you're only hooked. Somebody brought this up last time because we've done this one before, but somebody brought up the fact that what happens if on the bungee jump the cord that's holding you, stretchy cord, it breaks. There's nobody flying next to you with a parachute. You know what I mean? So if your parachute doesn't work, there might be a chance that if you're
Maybe.
strapped into somebody.
Maybe I think you're done for the most part, no matter what. But
Yeah, I guess. But if somebody else nobody else is with you when you're bungee jumping.
That's true.
So you're either going, head first into a rock, which I guess you probably wouldn't feel that either. So
Yeah.
sorry.
Last one. Here's a pretty simple one, maybe. Would you rather only be able to eat food that began with a B, as in boy, or an M? Food with a B. If you only could eat food that began with a B or an M.
well,
And
it's just
I
the
don't
general
think-
term.
General.
Meat.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think meat counts.
bad, 'cause
But
I
I
was
think
gonna
you'd
pick
have
ahead.
to.
Well, beef.
Yeah.
Burgers, which is
Brats.
beef.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's B all day. You get bread. with
Bacon.
B.
Yeah.
Bacon.
true.
That's what I was
bread,
thinking.
yeah.
Bacon.
Just bacon.
If bacon
Yeah.
is if that's part of the B, then that'd be a pretty important first
Yep.
step. B
Yeah,
and
that's a good
bread.
point.
You'd have bacon and bread
And
Yep.
beef.
Beef.
and beef.
Yep.
Anything
I think
else?
You're good.
Bologna,
Beets,
Broccoli.
broccoli.
brats. John said
Fat broccoli's
brats.
not
Yeah,
bad, though.
that's not bad if you have some
Boar's
sort
head.
of dressing on it.
Yeah. Well, that's
Boar's
the
head.
brand.
There
Yeah,
you go.
boar's head meat. Yeah. Everybody solid on B, or would you rather have M? I don't even know what would M's be? McDonald's? No.
Oh, yes.
probably
Yeah,
not.
there you go.
Now, if that's in play, it's a different conversation.
I'd like to change my
mayonnaise.
answer.
What starts with
Yeah,
M?
Munster. So you get a
Munster
little
cheese. M. I can't even think. We're gonna
milk.
Mandarin
Milk.
oranges.
Mandarin oranges.
There
Yeah.
we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going with the B.
We're all B's then, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's
So
all
all
I've
we
got.
got.
Now I've got this.
Oh, yeah.
Tim, we just started this. This is the father-son
Dad started that.
podcast coupon. You get to go over to the prize table.
Yeah.
Oh,
And because
nice.
you have a large family, we're going to let you to pick out 2 items. And
Wow.
so then you got to stay around and get a picture with us.
Sounds
so we can
good.
put that
Question
on
is will he share it though, or will you take both of them for yourself?
Well,
I'll
just
share.
stuff-
and just
yeah.
Take them to work and
put it in your glove compartment.
Especially with Avery since it's her birthday.
Oh,
it
that's
is our
right, yeah.
birthday, yeah.
Yep.
So thank you
Yeah.
for coming
You bet.
over
Thanks
and
a lot.
being part of the podcast and answering all of our questions. Anything else?
No, I think that's it. You'll be part of our 25th episode. So what
Yes.
we'll do is this
Big
will be
25.
part of our whole podcast, and we'll also post just the interview. We've posted some of them to What's Happening Mazo. So
Oh, cool. Thanks
if
for
other
having
people
me.
want to just see that, they can. So thanks.
Yep.
Thanks for coming on, Tim. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
Local guests of the original Father-Son Voiceover podcast get a coupon towards the FSVP prize table and your choice of a valuable take-home gift. Congratulations and thanks for being a guest on the original Father-Son Voiceover podcast.
That was right on. I got right when you said start. Boom. I started the clock. So we are right on time.
I think I pressed that right at the right time. Might be a second off.
It's just a little
Okay.
That's no problem.
It would be like a second off, I think. Second or 2.
Just got to be close.
That was fun. Tim Wick, he brought us the shirts and he brought us the hat, and we're going to keep that up there. Reverse marketing, reverse marketing sponsorship.
We're back. Thanks, Tim Wick, for the interview coming over. Did he come over during work?
Yeah.
During his, maybe I shouldn't say
Well,
that.
he shouldn't. Yeah.
I don't think
He's
it
probably
matters.
salary.
No. I mean, it was during lunchtime. He made sure. He made sure, and I could see him checking his watch off camera a few times. He wanted to make sure he was right on time.
He's not robbing the.
But I mean, he's so
business.
valuable to the company. Plus, his last name is Wick.
Yeah.
What you gonna do?
What are you going to do? Anyway, Drew, what do we got today?
So we're back to the States.
Yes.
Ooh.
People have been saying stuff. to me.
Clamoring.
That's one of the things Judy's. No, she didn't say that. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay.
Don't put words in people's mouths.
So we did Colorado last.
That was a while ago.
Yep.
I don't know how many episodes, but
It was a while ago.
a couple.
And now we're on Connecticut or Connecticut because there's a C in there.
Connecticut.
Kind of forget about that sometimes. All right. So we're going to do a few of these different state things. State flower is the mountain laurel. Damon will probably have a picture of that.
Yep.
The state bird, which I think is ours as well, is the American robin.
It's Michigan's as well.
What?
That's getting ahead of time. But yeah.
Could they not just be a little bit unique and
Well, I
think
think
a different one?
I think we probably stole
that.
it from them. Connecticut's a really old state.
Okay.
When did they pick out
any of them? Who
When
cares?
did they
Us
pick out the state
too.
birds and stuff? Because news didn't travel very fast back then. Maybe they just said, "Hey, there's a lot of robins around
They didn't
here.
have
Let's
any
just-"
carrier
We didn't know what
robins, did they?
Connecticut's bird was.
Maybe they
They
didn't.
just named it. They
I don't
just
know.
named us. It's just anyway.
Yeah.
Let's not put that on them.
Yeah, it's true.
Let's not be mean to old people that have passed away.
Yep.
The state tree is a white oak tree. It's called a charter oak there, I guess. But it's a white oak tree. The state motto, I know you guys will really appreciate this. I brought in the Latin translation
Oh, good. I like it when you
and
do that.
the Latin pronunciation as well.
Wow.
So here's the pronunciation. I still may not get it correct, even though I've got it right here. Que transtulit sustinet. Sustinet. Yeah, that's probably right.
Which is to be what translated as?
Dad.
Dad.
It's translated as
You're looking at it.
he who transplanted still sustains.
I was going to say sustenance.
Dad is transplanting this segment.
Okay, I'm looking over here. I'm just trying to be on
Drew
mic.
can't even get it
Now
out of
I'm
his
going to be
mouth,
here, but
and
it's going to look
which
like I'm
means-
ignoring you.
Which
now.
is translated as, yeah, I was about to get to that.
Well, I was right, but what I was doing. See, now I'm talking. I'm talking.
red? Now who's
I'm talking to Hudson, and he's not talking. You're talking.
Yeah, you don't wanna
So I've
talk
got to
to
be like
Yeah,
this.
but you don't
when
have to. You don't have to.
It's hard for me because I want to follow along.
You want to be in
Take
charge.
over. Yeah.
Ugh.
Okay.
Todd's total takeover.
Yeah. Here's the state animal, the sperm whale. It was selected because of its specific contribution to the state's history and because of its present day plight as an endangered species. That may
They didn't do that because
Back
of its
then?
endangered. Yeah.
I was 1950 or something like that. So,
Sounds like they changed it up.
but probably like whaling
Yeah.
back then.
They had a whale of a time back then. That's what I heard.
The state nickname is the Constitution State. That's the official state nickname, but it's also the Nutmeg State, the
I've heard that.
Provisions State, and the Land of Steady Habits. So
What is a steady habit? What would that be? What would
This
what do
podcast
you-
is a steady habit.
That's okay. There's one.
There's one.
Drinking coffee would be a steady habit.
Okay.
Going to work,
Yep.
Yep.
exercising.
Exercising.
Somebody mowing while we're doing the podcast.
That
is
seems to be a steady
very-
habit.
Yep.
Me
Yeah.
hitting base hits. That's a steady habit.
Drew going to the All-Star game.
Yep.
Hitting
a
the barrel
steady
at the
habit.
All-Star game.
Hitting
Yeah.
500
Well, next
at
year.
the All-Star game.
Yeah, next year if I make it, that'll be a steady habit.
True.
Yep.
Yeah. Throwing strikes, that's for me.
Boom.
Mm-hmm.
That's a steady habit of
Yep.
mine.
Sure is. Dad taking over the podcast. That's a
That
steady
seems to
habit.
be that seems to be a steady habit. All right, well then here's some
Hudson's
here's
bad
some
jokes.
That's a steady habit.
Yeah, that's a steady
Joe's bad joke.
Joe's bad joke, steady
Not
habit.
as steady.
Yeah.
But they're almost as steady as each other. They're one and the
One
same.
and the same.
there you go. Did you have a reply?
Bass is the name.
All right. So we've got some fast, fun facts here.
Fast.
And
Rifle 'em.
there's quite a number here for Connecticut.
Before you go on, can I quickly just ask a question?
Please
when
do.
you think about Connecticut, do you think about like New York? You think about New York City. That's what you think about. You don't think of like northern and western New York City, which is
Maybe like
like
here,
our
kind of.
our area, more rural. Do you think about Connecticut that way? That is more like metropolitan, like cities.
I don't think
You
much
don't have
about
that-
Connecticut.
You don't have that. You don't have that bias.
I stay
You
away
came
from
to this
bias.
totally unbiased.
I have a steady habit of no biases.
Okay, good. That's fine. Just was curious.
Yeah, I will say that I always used to think that Connecticut was a real small state. It's a pretty good sized state.
Good size,
Yeah, good size. Anyway, so because it's an older state, there seems to have a fair number of firsts and some good history here. So let's
dive right into it.
Let's chip right into this. Connecticut, which is the state we're talking about, is home to the first hamburger in 1895. Also home to the first Polaroid camera, 1934. The first helicopter, 1939. And the first color television, 1948. Look at that first.
So many firsts.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now it's
And some good
possible.
ones too.
Yeah, true.
Didn't we have another one that said that somebody else had invented the burger?
Colorado?
I thought we've heard this
I
one
mean,
before.
the thing
But
is
that's
that
not true because Colorado was
way
wasn't
after
around
that.
That's
before
hard
that.
to
Well, and so many
imagine.
states claim to be like
That's true.
Well,
Yeah.
but they claim also to be like Abraham's
Birthplace.
Abraham Lincoln's birthplace or home or whatever.
I just forgot his name. Abraham.
No, I was thinking that was it didn't come out right. It was just had a little
It's all right.
malfunction.
You know him as Abe, Honest Abe.
Oh,
that's
Honest Abe, yeah, it's
that's
always
why
been
you
that,
were
yep.
trying.
Flush that one. Just flush it.
Don't get the
Our mistakes don't.
Yeah, don't
It's
get
just a
nervous. now.
steady diet of that too.
Don't get the
steady habit of that.
Our mistakes don't
Now he's
define us.
getting the
Jeff.
No,
Yeah. Stay down on the next rounder. Okay. That one popped up on you.
tell that to Mom.
Yeah, true.
She took it off the knee yesterday
Yeah,
and the face.
kept it in front for sure.
I think it went past somehow still. The World Wrestling.
She's getting shot.
Yeah, body shots. It's the best. That's the best though.
She'll get you back.
How?
She
The
rakes
World
our
Wrestling
meals.
Federation, or the WWF, is headquartered in Stamford. But it's now the WWE, correct? Yeah, it used to be the WWF.
Yeah. There's some sort of thing with like a wildlife that had the same acronym.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure.
Cease and desist, they said.
Yeah.
Then the WWF said, we'll wrestle you for it.
But then
I would think that the folks at the wildlife probably couldn't wrestle them very well.
Unless they're a bunch of lumberjacks.
they might have been
True.
bears. You can't wrestle bears in certain
yeah, we
places.
got that
Just
in there.
right.
We got
That's
that in there.
consistent. That's a
Yep.
habit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hudson's reference back to
Amelia
Bear
Earhart.
wrestling.
Alaska and Alabama, right?
Yeah. Bristol,
Sorry.
Connecticut is considered the mum city of the USA because of the many chrysanthemums grown and sold to various states in Canada. 17
interesting.
Yeah, I think so. That's why I put it right in there. In 1728, the first steel mill operating in America was located in Simsbury.
Another first.
You know what I like watching right now is Dad staring off in
You're
his
working
face
very
over
hard
there,
not-
working so hard not to look at Drew's
Well, here's the thing.
I want you
can-
back up there.
The thing.
I want you back up
The
there
thing
because then
is-
it's so natural. Then I don't cheat at all.
Well, the thing is you're welcome to look at these. Just don't have to hijack it.
Well,
That's
I wasn't hijacking. I was
This isn't a
simply.
voice-
There's
Voiceover
middle
script,
ground
Dad.
here.
Well,
There's middle ground.
You never understand my intentions. My intention was that I would just set it up. I'd say, which is to be translated.
But that's
boom, and then you
steal,
jump
set
right
up,
on it, and we're going
same
back
thing.
and forth like father and son. Father and son podcast.
That's my job. This is my
Father
segment.
and son. I know it's your segment, but this is the father and son pod. We could do it together.
This is Latin, and you
Dad
said
has to be
which
part of every
translates.
single thing. It always has to be father and.
It would
can't
take
be
it would
just.
take care of everything if you would go right back there.
Yeah,
It's true.
It's kind of your fault, Drew.
All right.
Go ahead. I'll stop looking at it.
No, I said you can look at
Okay.
it. I said there's middle ground. You just don't have to.
Okay, I'll look
try to
at
get out
it,
in
but
front.
not say anything.
Okay.
Get out in
Yeah.
front of
Script,
it.
Dad.
Look
Yeah.
at it.
Fair enough. Pez candy is made in the city of Orange.
Were you guys fans of those?
I liked Pez dispensers.
Fine.
Listen, anything that you could buy and it was tasty back then. We didn't get the kind of candy
Plus, you had
that you guys
cartoon
have today.
character on in front of it.
Yeah,
that was fun.
Yep. Thomas Sanford made the first friction matches in Beacon Falls in 1834.
Nice.
Yep. Strike on box. Strike anywhere.
Those are.
I always like to strike
It's
anywhere.
like, why would you make anything different?
Then strike anywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah. What if you showed up in a survival situation and you thought you had strike anywhere match and you had strike on box and you didn't have the box? You imagine like,
They
I'm gonna die.
They used to make those ones with like, didn't they actually use like snake skin?
I don't know.
Remember they had
They
those
just look like
diamond,
snake skin.
those diamond. Maybe I don't know.
I mean, like the matches themselves or the match box?
Yeah, that's just a little world that you got into when you were a little younger.
Are you into snake oils, Drew?
Snake oils. First telephone book ever issued contained only 50 names. The New Haven District Telephone Company published it in New Haven in February 1878.
Wow. 50 people.
Do you know that were you guys, like when we lived over on Scott Street, it was still only 4 numbers in Mazomanie.
Oh.
You didn't have to dial, if you were just dialing Mazomanie, and some of the older folks will remember this, and they'll remember even letters in the numbers, in the phone numbers. But like ours back home was 4910. That's all you had to do. Dial 42385.
It was almost like an extension for a company.
Yep.
Mazo was his own company.
They had only 50, and my guess would be they had an operator who had a little
010203.
who would, if you wanted to call, you had to, like Sarah on Andy Griffith and some of those old shows. Anyway, just to trip back to memory lane.
Do you have a bunch of those left? Do we need to rifle through some?
We're not even halfway through.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
I'm not trying to speed us up.
That's why we got a clock. That's why we got a clock.
I was just asking what he has.
Don't be a creative.
One of the things I like about Drew is he can watch this. He can also watch the clock,
and Dad's
he's
there too.
and I can help.
I know exactly. Yeah. And you can get out in front of a few for us. That'd be nice too.
You guys could do 2 at one time.
Oh, maybe we could share. see how that works.
Yeah.
All right. So in 1705, copper was discovered in Simsbury. Later, the copper mine became the infamous Newgate prison of the Revolutionary War. So they had copper mine there. Dr. Samuel Higley of Simsbury started the first copper coinage in America in 1737. Lots of firsts.
He was so famous. He was infamous.
With the penny, probably.
Dr. Leo Marvin, that's what I was thinking. I was going to say that. The Scoville Memorial Library is the United States' oldest public library. The library collection began in 1771 when Richard Smith,
Nick Smith,
owner of a local blast furnace, furnace, yeah.
Oh.
It was past tense.
Okay.
Used community contributions to buy 200 books in London. Patrons of the library could borrow and return books on the third Monday of every third month. Talk about bad hours.
It's like the DMV at SOC.
You better pick up a lot of books.
Sock?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Especially that's all you were doing for entertainment back then.
True.
Fees were collected for damages, the most common being greasing by wax stripping, not from John's fingers, from the candles by which the patrons read.
inside joke.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Greasy fingers.
Yeah.
Greasing or degreaser.
Yeah.
Another one.
Cattle branding in the United States began in Connecticut when farmers were required by law to mark all of their pigs. You mark those pigs.
That's not
You
cattle.
think of
cattle, though.
You think of branding as just being cows, don't you?
Well,
He
usually what I
said,
think.
he said cattle branding.
Right?
Yeah.
So why that should be hog branding? It shouldn't be called cattle branding.
Well, I don't know what I don't know how the
I think
definition
cattle
of
is a
cattle.
very inclusive word.
I wonder about that.
So cattle, there's a bunch of hogs as
Why
cattle.
don't we look up the definition before you start trashing it? You may be right, but
You gonna trust
possible.
this, or you gonna trust?
I
Hudson?
would trust the paper.
What is it? What am I looking up?
just the definition of cattle.
You were arguing just about it a second ago.
He's already forgotten.
He's off that already.
Yeah.
Would you like to look it up?
Oh, boy.
A large ruminant
Okay, that's a trouble already.
Animals with horns and cloven hooves.
Yeah, that'd be
Domesticated for meat or milk or a beast of burden. Cows. It says cows.
Well, but I think that's typically the definition.
Similar animals of a group related to domestic cattle, including yak, bison, and buffalo.
Okay.
Yes, but it also said
Bovines.
Cloven.
cloven hooves.
Cloven cloves.
Yeah.
Why are you mad at me?
I'm just
I'm not mad.
that-
Just
I'm,
helping
I'm
you.
explaining. I'm explaining that would also include pigs.
But it doesn't say technically pigs here. I know it says
But
cloven
with the definition,
hooves.
that would fit in there.
Maybe somebody really, really knows the I mean, we've got plenty of farmers around
Yeah.
the area.
Yeah.
Maybe
They
Rick
can-
Wibberforth knows.
Sure, he does.
Or
I bet
yeah,
he
he's
does.
a farmer.
I bet
There's
he
other
does.
farmers.
Yeah, because he had both dairy cattle and pigs.
That's
growing up.
exactly why I was saying it.
Yeah. Well, that's something to keep.
We'll
them
get back on that.
kind of in our get
Yeah.
back to
Back
that.
to it. at
The old
some
back
point.
burner.
Maybe if
We
you
may or
know,
may not.
let us know.
You're right.
Yeah.
Connecticut is home to the oldest U.S. newspaper still being published, the Hartford Courant, established in 1764,
Isn't that amazing?
long time ago. The first automobile law was passed by the state of Connecticut in 1901. The speed limit was set at 12 miles per hour.
That is a
round
number.
Wow.
It's like going out
What if
to
you
the high
rode your
school and
bike
having
too
to drive
fast?
10 miles an hour.
Do you get in trouble for that?
Don't know. Doesn't
You know,
say.
you had a bunch of firsts, but I've kept hearing firsts. I keep hearing firsts. It's amazing. Maybe there'll be more in the future. Firsts.
Yeah, maybe that's possible.
Maybe Dad's reading more
Here's
first.
the next one. The first. Interesting.
Wow.
Huh.
Foreshadowing there.
The first lollipop making machine opened for business in New Haven in 1908.
That'd be sweet if we could find a picture of that.
Yeah, Gord Smith,
Oh, wow.
named the treat after a popular racehorse, Lollipop.
How about that? I didn't know that.
Didn't know that either, but you did by reading.
Now we know.
And
You're
who
right.
knows? Maybe they're made out of horses.
Okay.
In colonial
That's
New
so
Haven,
bad.
cut pumpkins were used as guides for haircuts to ensure a round, uniform style. Because of this fashion, these New Englanders were nicknamed pumpkin heads.
I didn't know that.
I didn't
was
know
an
that
actual
either.
What a
You
terrible
pumpkin
Pumpkin
head,
headed.
you round head.
You pumpkin pie haircutted
Yeah.
freak.
Roundhead was something else. It was like back to the, like, over in, I think it was
Old country.
Yeah, I think it
Motherland.
might have been what the French called the English, or vice versa, or something.
Maybe because they're
Roundheads.
helmets.
Maybe. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I
for
think
sure.
I think that might have been.
That helmet would be big for you.
Mm.
That's a big head. You gotta,
He would be able to
They might
save
run out
many
of.
people.
They might run out of material.
yeah.
Trying to fit your head.
Depends on what the material is, but yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Maybe they
point.
just put a
Good point.
leather
Dad
one
would
on
be
your
like
head.
one of those trolls in Lord of the Rings that runs into the wall with his head.
Yeah.
I always had a problem with football helmets.
Yeah.
Could never find one big enough. It was
a problem.
harsh. It was harsh. There's
It was
no
a
doubt about
problem.
it.
We're either gonna take the padding out, or it's just gonna be real tight on you.
Yeah, I should have played rugby instead. You didn't have to wear a helmet.
True. All right, one more here. Some facts. West Hartford is the birthplace of Noah Webster, the author of the first dictionary published in 1807.
Wow.
So here's I just have a few weird laws
Let's hear it.
that I'm going to share. And then we got a couple fun holidays.
Ooh.
Holidays.
You can be stopped by the police for biking over 65 miles per hour if you're biking 65 miles an hour. Only 2 people in history ever biked this fast, and they were training professionally.
They were like
Are they going
totally worth
downhill?
it.
Don't know, Joe.
They said totally worth it to.
Have
Only
you ever?
be
What's
one
the
of two
fastest
people?
you've ever ridden a bicycle? You think obviously down a hill?
35 miles an hour.
Wonder how
40
fast you
miles
can
an
go
hour,
going down
maybe.
Ooh,
Midland.
that's fast.
That's
I
fast.
think you would know.
Isn't that scary? Isn't that scary though?
I think you would know.
hour.
What happened here?
Hudson said
I
that
he said how
thought-
fast. I thought maybe 30, 45 miles. 35 to 40 miles an hour.
I don't think so.
I mean, that's 20 less.
But you're on
You're
those
on a little
little,
bike.
That
little
should be shaking. pretty
bicycle
good.
tires. That's
You've
scary.
been very nervous.
You guys have never been on a bike with me, so were we riding a tandem bicycle or
That's
what?
very true. Especially not going 35 miles an hour. I don't think even you were on that bike.
But some of those guys, like in the Tour de France,
Yeah.
they go fast.
Yeah,
down
they
those
do.
hills. I mean,
Those are mountains, though.
yeah, right, mountains. Yeah,
Yeah. Not bluffs.
That
I
would be
saw
fast.
a video recently of a guy that was riding his bike and then going down a hill, but he went.
He's planking.
He was planking when he was doing it. So he was just flying past the competition.
He was like this, and his legs were like Superman.
Yeah.
And his stomach was on the seat,
Yeah.
and it's a way to
more
take away
aerodynamic,
drag.
yep.
He was in a race.
Yeah, and he was just blowing
Yes.
past the people that were doing it the wrong way.
The accident. Yikes.
I think his core muscles were just keeping him in there so well.
Nice.
Yeah. In order for a pickle to officially be considered a pickle in Connecticut, must bounce.
How
Probably.
high?
I don't know.
So it has a good snap to it.
Probably, yeah, because you'd think if it's a rotten, mushy,
I wonder how they do that though. Like if did they drop it on I'm hoping it's a clean floor
yeah.
because I hope they're not just picking that up and
Yeah,
then putting
clean
it in.
countertop.
Was it mom? Was it mom that one time that we got our joke from about the pickle juice?
Yeah.
Pickle juice being so dangerous. What happened there?
I don't
Getting
remember.
pickle juice in your eye or something like
Well,
that.
I think it fell. I think the pickle jar fell and splashed, and you guys were little, and I think she kind of said how
being
dangerous,
protective,
how dangerous pickle juice could be. So we made up all sorts of jokes about pickle juice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sure did.
We won't share them here.
Having a roaring time with that. In Southington? Probably Southington. You
Ask
saw
Dad,
it.
he's reading.
I don't know.
I would have
I don't know if it's an
It's not as
invalid.
I was gonna say it's not
Southington.
as egregious as invalid.
Yeah.
Silly string is banned. In the mid 1990s, a group of children ran up to a police officer and sprayed him with silly string during the Apple Harvest Festival.
So he outlawed it.
So they banned the product to keep it from ever happening again.
Boy, that's dangerous. Spraying that silly
Silly
spray.
string. Yep.
Silly string.
Don't want to have too much fun.
It was during a festival.
Yeah, it seems like an appropriate time to be doing it.
Yeah.
Seems like you.
Maybe have thicker skin.
Yeah, I wonder if there's more to it. Maybe.
I would have maybe
there
threw
was-
the can at him too.
Yeah.
Then he threw the book at them.
Oh, I like that.
Couldn't. There's no law in the books.
At that point.
At that
yeah.
point.
Oh.
Hey,
There's no
the
law
book
for it.
became.
No,
But he
it is.
started throwing the
After.
book at them.
The law came after
Yeah,
that.
I
so
know
he
it, but
couldn't
he
throw
was
the
throwing the
book
book at him.
Okay.
There we go. Just going to keep on it. In Waterbury, no beautician can hum.
Waterbury?
No beautician can hum, whistle, or sing while working on a customer.
They play
What's
the
it?
recorder.
What's a beautician?
Beautician, like a salon person,
Oh, okay.
cutting hair.
Beauty.
And he
There we
wonders why we question the cattle, his strongness on
You
cattle.
can't hum, whistle, or sing
No,
because couldn't we
Wait,
just
wait. In a barber shop?
Can
That's
I
what
hum?
about the barber shop quartets?
okay, but couldn't we just have it be where you didn't have to have a law? You could just the person that's getting their hair done, they could just say, "Would you mind not right now? Could we turn on the radio or something?"
Maybe
like that? Why do we
somebody-
have to have a law?
maybe somebody prefers humming or singing while they're getting
exactly.
there.
So they can't.
You guys just
Well, and
can't.
if you're a beautician,
Against
didn't you
the
say
law.
that's like a barber shop, hair salon, stuff like that? And I said, what about the, now I'm blanking.
The barber shop.
Yeah.
Quartet.
Quartets. Yeah.
That's where they came from.
Exactly.
Supposedly.
Yep. Last one. In Hartford, you may not, under any circumstances, cross the street walking on your hands. Don't
That just
exactly know what
Seems like a logical thing to me.
seems like a good law to have.
Yep.
All right, let's get a few fun holidays here. It's Batman Day today, September 17th, 2022. It's also National Dance Day. Should have had a dance off or something while we were sitting. That would have been a really nice day to do it.
Dance Dance Revolution.
Yep. Also, National Pet Bird Day,
It's fine. Don't push anything.
which is difficult when you don't have a pet bird. It's Constitution Day, which fits nicely with the Constitution state that we're talking about today. So I threw that in
right
there.
on the day.
Yep.
Wow.
National Gymnastics Day. Natasha Stevenson is a
She sure
gymnast,
does.
as well as I don't know if she's as
Lizzie.
Liz.
Liz
Yep,
Wick.
Liz Wick.
Liz
Tim
Wick.
Wick's
Tim
daughter.
Wick's daughter.
Gymnast.
Gymnast as well.
They get
Fourth
gymnasty.
oldest daughter. Fourth oldest child.
Yeah. As I think Natasha is as well.
Fourth
Wow.
oldest child thing. That means you should have been.
Oh,
a
you should have
gymnast.
gymnast.
Male
Hair's
gymnast.
Yeah.
Probably could have been.
That would have been real nice in that leotard.
Losing my hair.
The wand is
That would have been your
the
problem
gymnast.
with being a gymnast, is you were losing your hair.
It wouldn't be aesthetically pleasing.
Well, I'd be a
That's
better
not-
gymnast if I had my hair.
Yeah, that's the one thing that was holding you back.
Yeah. Could do the rings.
Although I'd be way,
that might
I'd
be
be
one
way
of
more,
Hudson's
I'd be way
excuses.
more aerodynamic.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
In what way would that help you?
When I'm doing my flips and stuff
Oh,
like that.
okay.
Pommel horse. I'm whipping around and
Mm-hmm. Would be nice. It's also National Pet Carbon Monoxide Safety Day. So teach those pets about carbon monoxide
will
safety.
do.
It goes on to talk
What
about how
point do they have in carbon monoxide? I mean, like what's gonna?
Aren't they the ones sometimes that actually alert you to those
Yeah,
kind of things? So
exactly.
why do we have to
Canary
train?
in the
They're smarter than, not smarter, but
mind.
they
Mine.
maybe can detect it more than a human
Yeah.
could. So
But like, how are you gonna like? Are you gonna give it whiffs of it? Or,
I don't know.
It's
Well,
an
make
odorless.
sure you
it's
waft
odorless.
it.
How do
You
how do
make
they
sure
know?
you waft it because
I
you
don't
don't
know.
want to.
It's odorless.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Iocane.
Okay. I bet my life on it.
I bet my life on it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what to say to
I
that.
don't know either what to say either. No say.
All I know
Well, what
is
do you
is-
do? You don't
Yeah,
even,
4
we
minutes.
don't even have a pet. It's
That almost comes across like a joke.
we're
You could
supposed
say
to
to
teach-
somebody,
we're
"Well, my
supposed to teach,
dog,
we don't have a
my
pet."
dog can."
Well,
is
that's-
a,
So are we
not
a
carbon
for
lost
pet
monoxide.
owners. It's for pet owners.
But are we a lost cause then?
Well, it's the same
Those are
type
the days-
of holiday as the National Pet Bird Day. We don't have that either.
True.
So
But I'm saying if like that seems like something you could make a joke about. You could say, "Oh, my dog's a carbon monoxide sniffer." It's like, well, it's
Was
odorless.
it supposed to be a good joke, a funny
No,
joke?
I'm just saying
or-
it's just like whatever. Like it doesn't make any sense.
I want to give Hudson enough time, so I just wanted to just appeal to the people, subscribe and like, and also if you want to be on the podcast, you can contact one of us. I don't even know.
Yeah,
how
you
to
can
do it.
contact me on Facebook. If
Yeah.
you see our posts and stuff like that, you can even just comment on there.
Yeah.
If you want, just comment on here. I want to be on the podcast
Yep.
or something like that.
And
Or I know
like
somebody
said,
that I would be a good.
we'll have
fit.
our people talk to your people and see if that would be a good fit. Tim Wick, thanks so much for
Yeah, thank you,
being
Tim.
on there. He's got his hat right there and gave us shirts. And
It's our friend Donnie.
Reeves' birthday. Yeah.
And his
Saturday the
and it was
17th.
anniversary
He watches
just
the
yesterday. He and
podcast.
Janet.
Yep. 33
Yep.
He's,
years.
70, he's
Congratulations.
75 today?
75, yep.
75.
Happy birthday, Donnie.
Yep.
I hope
Happy
you've
birthday.
seen this.
Yep.
3/4 of the way to 100.
Yep. Yeah. So I think that's all I wanted
Nice.
to. Oh, you can also be a part of our reverse marketing if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Be part of that.
Yep.
Go ahead, Hudson. I left you plenty of time.
Wow, so much time.
Close it out and take 2 minutes if you want.
How do I start? Well, thank you for being part of the original Father-Son Voiceover podcast. You made it through 25 episodes. Next week is our 26th episode. It's going to look a little bit different. Got a trip coming up. We're going to see somebody, and we're going to have some tales about that and some pictures and stuff like that. And we're going to also do a taste test, backed by popular demand. So I don't know who will all be
Cal
up here.
wanted it back.
Yep, Cal said we got to have people eating on the podcast. That's my favorite thing. So we're going to do that, and that's it from us here at the original Father-Son Voiceover Podcast Studios. Did you like that video? Check out more from the original Father-Son Voiceover Podcast right over here, or subscribe to our channel right here.